Having a 5-star rating on Shipt is the best way for shoppers to consistently get orders. Having a 5-star rating on Shipt means that you get first dibs on all orders. So to ensure that you can make as much money as possible with Shipt, I'm going to give you all of the tips and tricks I use to consistently get 5-star ratings on Shipt, including over 400 5-star ratings. So without further ado, let's jump into it with the first area that I'm going to give tips on is communication. When it comes to doing Shipt Shop, I have some couple rules of communication. The first thing is text communication. I just send the basic text, this send intro text. Yes, this is John. I'm about to begin shopping your order at Target, Safeway, wherever. Let me know if you need anything else, yada, yada, yada. I know some people like to spice up their intro text. I'm not one of them. Now, along with that, when I'm communicating with the customer, when it comes to like shopping, I don't really badger them about things. The only time I really communicate to the customer when shopping, I try to make that like my last resort. So that means like I'll try to, hopefully they'll have some substitution options. If they don't, and there's something out of stock, I'll first try to ask an employee if I'm at Target. If it's a grocery orders like a Kroger's or a Fry's, a lot of times I'll just reach out to the customer because employees at those stores, they're not really checking in the back for me. And typically what they got is what they got. Nonetheless, on Target orders, if something's out of stock, I'll kind of skip over that and try to find a Target employee in the meanwhile while I'm looking for other items on that list. And when I do see a Target employee, I'll ask them if that item that I couldn't find is somewhere in the back. Honestly, 3 out of 4 times I feel like there is an extra one of those in the back, which prevents me from having to reach out to the customer. Now, when it comes to times where they don't have it in the back, that's where I do reach out to the customer, and I also reach out and try to provide substitution options and pictures of that substitution option in stock. So for example, if they don't have some type of 12 pack of eggs, I'll say, hey, they don't got these eggs, but they got this pack, send a picture with it, would you like to substitute? Basically, I'm trying to get the customer to only have to say yes or no, or if it's a really picky customer, they'll ask for something specific, but 9 times out of 10 they'll respond and say yes, that's great, go with it, and we move on to the next item. Now, when it comes to a customer that has that do not substitution option in their preferences, I used to just like not substitute and just skip over that item. Nowadays, what I do and what I've learned has actually gotten me more preferred shoppers is when they say do not substitute, I've learned that sometimes they just mean they don't want you to pick the item because there's some shitty Shipt shoppers that just substitute, don't even reach out to the customer. So with that in mind, when I see a do not substitute nowadays, I'll take a picture, say, hey, they don't have this item in stock. I'll kind of treat them like my regular substitution options, really. I'll say, hey, would you like to substitute with this item? If they say no, then move along. If they say yes, you kind of basically got to kind of work around the system in the sense that you have to, mark the item as out of stock. The system will say the customer chose do not sub, but then the item that they do want to sub with, you basically scan it like an additional item to their order. So I think it ends up being like a wash in the end. Now in that same case, if it's the do not sub person and they don't respond to me, then I don't worry about it. I just don't sub that item. Now, if I've been texting a customer, been trying to communicate with them about substitutions, maybe 1, 2, 3 items, and they don't respond, after I've shopped all the other items, if the customer hasn't responded to me, I'll then give them a call and try to see, hey, do they answer? And if they don't answer, then I'll just take power in my own hands. If the item is of equal or lesser value, I'll probably an item where I won't substitute is something that's a totally different flavor, a larger amount. Now, if it's going to a smaller size, I would substitute it, and I'll text the customer, hey, I did these things. Even though they don't respond, I still want to keep that paper trail. And the other thing about calling, I've gotten the situation where that number's out of service, that call can't be connected. And in those cases, you want to document that. I'll reach out to Shipt support. I'll say, hey, I tried to reach out to this customer about subs, didn't respond to text. I tried to call them, and I got a message saying the number is disconnected or the call couldn't be answered, and I'll tell support, document that on the notes for this order. In case I need rating forgiveness, I can put that in my case. They can refer to those notes on the order, and I'll basically be guaranteed rating forgiveness. So yeah, that's how you make sure your rating doesn't get cooked by unresponsive customers. It ain't your problem. Don't take no problem for it. When it comes to shopping for customers, once again, I always try to give them a good experience. When it comes to shopping for produce, I just try to get them decent produce, not super ripe, not mushy, check for mold, just not bad produce, not discolored, shriveled, whatever. I gotta be great at it either. I don't think that I pick the best items. I just don't pick bad and horrible items or very mediocre items. And honestly, if all the items in stock are just moldy and bad, I'll just say item not found, items available, items not in stock, because I'm not gonna try to choose from the best out of a bad bunch just to save an order, because more likely than not, if you deliver some bad grapes or some moldy strawberries, you're more likely to get marked down for delivering moldy strawberries strawberries than for strawberries being out of stock. Now, when it comes to communication, there's like 5 texts that I always send to the customer. And those texts are basically that intro text. That's basically the stock one from the Shipt app. Anytime there's a substitution, I send them a text about the substitution. When I'm almost done shopping, when there's like 5 or less items on the order, I'll text them, hey, I'm almost done shopping for your order. Is there anything else you'd like me to get? Sometimes they say yes, sometimes they say no. But on times that they say yes, it's always a nice touch. And additionally, you get extra pay for adding more items to the order. Outside of the anything else text, the other 2 texts I'll send is I'm on the way, and then after I deliver the order, take a picture. Your order is delivered. Your final receipt will be in your email, which is like code for go check your email to get that final receipt and tip me. So that's an easy way to get more tips and ratings. Those are all the 5 texts I consistently send: the starter, the sub, the anything else, the on the way, and then the deliver text. Now, that's everything regarding communication that I do to get me a 5-star rating. Now, onto the next category of things I do. I would put these all under the umbrella of documentation. So as I mentioned earlier, anytime, something's out of stock, I need to reach out to a customer about a substitution, I send a pic with them. Rather than sending a picture of what's out of stock, the only picture I really focus on sending is the items I'm considering substituting. Now, ideally, I want to send them 1 or 2 items, or if there's like 5 different flavors, the one that they wanted the blueberry out of stock and they want, who knows what Pop-Tarts they want, I'll send them a picture of the little Pop-Tart section and say, hey, which one would you like to substitute, or would you like to substitute with one of these, whatever it may be. But try to simplify it just so they can answer with pink, strawberry, grape. Whenever possible, try to control the options to play with the customer to make it easier for them to respond. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, anytime there's like an error with trying to reach out to the customer because they're not responding by text, and so we call and you find out that's a bad number, give us support, get that order documented, because you may need rating forgiveness later, especially if the customer tries to say you didn't reach out to them about subs or the wrong items are selected or whatever it may be. Especially in those cases, you want to have that documented so the customers have a leg to stand on. And the other thing that happens in those cases, a lot of people don't know this, but if you reach out and you couldn't reach the customer, you tell Shipt that, Shipt support also tries to contact the customer, and once they confirm that that customer put a bad phone number in there, they actually send them an email. So if the customer that says that, hey, your phone number is bad on your profile, you need to update your phone number. And so if the customer tries to do something weird, once again, there's even more paper trails showing that the customer made an error before you made any errors at all. So keep that in mind. The last thing that I like to do for documentation, as I mentioned, is taking that picture, because customers try to do weird things, try to say items are included. And if you have that picture of all the bags, at least you have a little bit more leg to stand on when it comes to disputing that. When you ask for rating forgiveness, just saying you have the pictures, because 9 times out of 10, nobody's ever asked for a picture. Just have that proof just in case you need it, even though you likely won't. The third umbrella of things that I do to get me a 5-star rating in Shipt, these are my favorite things to talk about, because this is kind of under the category of tips and tricks, which my channel's all about, but also about finesse in customer service. It's all about shaping the customer's experience. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. That's kind of the umbrella that these tips are going to fall under. So the first one is to finesse when necessary. If you've seen this video here, now I didn't finesse the customer in this video just because I made a mistake. Yes, I did make a mistake. Nonetheless, the reason I did it was really to save my 5-star rating in Shipt, because you tell customers you're making errors, next thing you know, you're getting 4s, 3s, 2s, and 1 ratings. And I'm not here to do that. Sometimes you gotta tell little white lies to get along, Another thing I do to maintain a 5-star rating with Shipt is limit the amount of unknown orders I take. Unless there's a bonus for like completing a certain number of orders, I'm typically not taking orders from people I haven't shopped for, unless maybe it's like a double order and they're attached to somebody I've shopped for before that I know that tips, and my consistent tipping known customers that I know will give me a 5-star rating and keep my 5-star ratings high. The other thing that I do to limit the unknowns is also to mix in delivery only orders. Those orders that can't rate me, as long as I get them on time, that's what matters. I can still get tips, still make good money, and I'm not exposing myself to a potential less than 5-star rating. Another thing I do, Shipt mentions in the hub that you want to deliver orders within those first 15 minutes of that window. Now, I don't always do that, but I try to whenever I can. So I try to run early for all my orders. I know I can shop target orders pretty fast. So yeah, get in, get out. Nowadays, Shipt doesn't care if you get a couple minutes early, and it looks better for the customer. So since these are drop-offs, You take the picture, move on, and call it a day. Also, prevention is key. Knowing when you're gonna get a customer, when you see the order instructions that you know is gonna be a pain, sometimes you drop it. You drop that order before you even have to deal with that customer. And that might be somebody where as soon as you accept it, you look at the instructions, you see they have a bunch of whole paragraph in the instructions about this and that and that and this, more expectations to meet. And then when you look at the actual item list, you see a bunch of yellow sticky notes, a bunch of extra instructions. So with a customer like that, yeah, there's a possibility that high expectations may result in a high tip, but I think it's more likely, and from my experience, the more likely to end up with a 4 because of something out of your control. Basically, is it easier to get 100% A++ on a 5-item quiz or on a 100-item quiz? I'd rather try to take my chances getting an A+ on a 5-question quiz than on a 100-question quiz. So whenever possible, try to avoid the 100-question quiz. And before I get to the last couple tips, I just want to say, if you're getting value from this video, do me a favor and hit that like button. If you want to see content like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button as well. But yeah, let's jump back into the tips. Always make sure that you apply for rating forgiveness. Make sure you apply for rating forgiveness anytime you get rated anything less than a 5. So that includes on 4, 3s, 2s, and 1-star ratings. Apply for rating forgiveness on all of them. Tell them about all the things that you do as efficiently as possible. You check in with the customer, you show pictures of substitution, you ask if there's anything else, you confirm it's delivered, you follow all the instructions, etc. You know, bolster your case when you write that case for rating forgiveness. I forgot how many characters is in that form, but I use all of them. They may say no, but that's all the worst they can say is no. And besides that, you're gonna have to live with that lower rating anyways. But the upside, keeping that 5-star rating and getting that lower rating removed, it's too great. Obviously, it impacts how much you make. So yeah, it's always worth it. Now, if you want to learn more about the technique I use to consistently get rating forgiveness, then watch this video now.